All right. Looks like we're live. Want to thank everybody that stopped by late this. Hell, it's 13 minutes till October the 2nd, where I'm at right now. So it's been in the news. Well, maybe it's not been in the news, actually. These floods have ravaged southern Appalachia, especially northeast Tennessee and western North Carolina. Also upstate South Carolina, too, as well. You know, it's pretty discouraging, but I'm going to try to talk about a few of the positive things that could come out of this. Um, this flood, I think a flood like this only comes around once every 500, maybe 1,000 years. Now, in southern Appalachia and central Appalachia, up in eastern Kentucky, West Virginia, parts of Pennsylvania, southwest Virginia, we deal with floods. I remember it was just probably 2 years ago that me and Patrick, we did a stream where we talked about the floods that had affected eastern Kentucky, namely Letcher County, Breathitt County, Bell County, several others. We wanted to shed light on the Heritage Appalachians plot. And now we've had a flood hit down here that is just of epic proportions. It's been extremely destructive. So I'll tell you a little background. I'm down here in southeast Tennessee now. And Wednesday night, we had a lot of rain. Thursday, we had a lot of rain. I work predominantly down in northwest Georgia. Had to work in the rain and shit, but that's just part of life. But we were expecting it to get a lot worse down here in southeast Tennessee. I know Thursday night, I was really wondering if we would end up having to work the next day because the hurricane was coming, of course. But we dodged a fucking bullet here. Absolutely. No flooding. There was some farmland in Georgia that had some standing water out in some cow fields, but goddamn, it is nothing like what afflicted western North Carolina and back home in northeast Tennessee. So we deal with floods in Appalachia, mountaintop removal, coal mining is a big cause of floods up there where they do coal mining. In my part of the far northeast corner of Tennessee, we were blessed in a way not to have coal seams there. There was no coal mining. You had to go on up into like southwest Virginia, southeast Kentucky. That's where your coal seams are. Mountaintop removal has done a lot to ruin the just the habitat and the geology. So we've dealt with this before. And down here in my part of Tennessee and western North Carolina, we deal with the TVA. And I think the TVA itself is both a blessing and a curse. I do enjoy fishing in the lakes, the numerous lakes. But there were some dams that were on the verge of destruction, of failure. The Lake Lure Dam down in, I believe, Rutherfordton County, North Carolina. That's probably about an hour and a half directly south of where I was raised. And the Nolichucky Dam. I think I've got 3 videos here that I'm going to play during this stream. and they may show the Nolichucky Dam. If not, I might have to find it. But I've got a pretty good friend online that lives close to the Nolichucky Dam. Thankfully, I believe he lives above it, and I'll try to find the footage. It might be in this one video. I hope it is. But at one time, the Nolichucky Dam had 1.2 million gallons of water flowing across it. The Niagara Falls up in Canada has about 700,000 gallons of water flowing across it. That's how bad it was. And you know, I'm sure many of you have seen a lot of the footage and the videos posted, say, on Twitter and elsewhere about the I mean, there's so many stories. Asheville, North Carolina. I've heard that Asheville, North Carolina, I've heard there's a lot of looting going on. I have heard they're basically an island right now. I know a few days ago I had seen a few people post up saying that the only way in and out of Asheville was by air. And you know, I've talked a lot of shit about Asheville in the past on this channel. It is a sort of Antifa stronghold, you could say. A really leftist there, but I do know a few good people that live there. And I still wouldn't wish that on these people, you know. But it's a catastrophe over there. You know, I talked about that we have dealt with this thing before. So let me show you something here. Can you see it? This is the newspaper from the county seat back home. This was the edition that came out on January the 8th, 1998. The flood of 98 happened back on January the 7th, 1998. I was 10 years old when this happened, and I've saved that newspaper all these years in my box of family pictures. That flood absolutely devastated my small, unincorporated mountain community. It destroyed the elementary school that I went to. I was in the 5th grade when it hit. Went to school that day. That night the flood hit. The stream in my yard. See, we've got this big metal tile that our driveway goes across. You've probably seen it in the videos. I've posted a couple of videos of my house back home. That tile normally is about 9-10 foot off the surface of the creek. It's a small creek, you know, has some trout in it. Rainbow trout swim upstream during the spring and summer, and they spawn up there. We used to feed them bread and salmon eggs and stuff and corn. We woke up at like 11:30 p.m. that night, and I heard my dad say, "Holy shit." And he woke us all up. We look outside, and there's only about 6 inches separating the very top of the tile and the raging current under it. So there was like 10 foot of water there. Came out of nowhere. The reason for this was during Christmas of 1997, 2 weeks before this flood, we got a massive snowstorm. We get a lot of snow up in northeast Tennessee, where I'm from. I mean, hell, where my house sits back home, the elevation's about 3,000 feet above sea level. That's where our hauler's at. And up on top of Roan Mountain itself, there was about 3 to 4 feet of snow. And it had been cold, you know, it had remained up there for 2 weeks, but on, I believe it was a Tuesday, the flood hit on a Thursday night. It had gotten warm up in like the mid 50s out of nowhere. Just a warm front moved through, but it dumped like several inches of rain and all that snow broke, and it laid waste to my county and also Avery County, North Carolina. Uh, there were 7 people killed in this flood. I don't know how many's killed in the recent one. It's a lot more than that. But not only that, you see, this flood of 98, it was very isolated. It really only affected this county in far northwest North Carolina and this county in far northeast Tennessee. Very isolated. I remember Al Gore a few days afterwards. I remember Al Gore because Bill Clinton was president at the time. He came by to visit my community. There was 3 foot of mud and silt in the hallways and the classrooms of our little school. And I remember my dad said, hell no, you ain't going to go see Al Gore. Fuck Al Gore. I agree with him, you know. But hey, I guess back then, at least your politicians were willing to visit the area. So I guess you give them credit for that. But this flood, the area that it's affected, is absolutely astounding. That's why I say that this is a flood. I remember old timers like my great uncle, my grandma. They said that flood of 98 that hit was a century flood. It's one you see every 100 years. And apparently my community back in 1901 had a flood of a similar catastrophic level. But this one took the cake. I mean, might not see anything like this. I'm certain you probably won't see any flooding like this the rest of our lifetimes, but hey, I'm not going to say that, you know. Knock on wood here. Let's see. All right, my personal experience with it. I still haven't reached my mother. She lives on the other side of the Highlands over in North Carolina. I've showed you in a couple of videos. I've been up there. I've filmed up there. It's a beautiful little community. And I still haven't heard from my mother, but I do know that she is safe. I know she's well. My younger brother, who also lives in North Carolina, same county, he just lives about 25, 30 minutes away from my house back home from where we were raised. And he went up there Saturday evening to try to check on her. My mother lives up a very long, isolated holler. The holler is probably about 3.5, 4 miles long, and I think there's 3 branches, 3 creeks that flow into Roaring Creek. Lots of bridges. Roaring Creek is a pretty good sized creek. Flows into the Tow River at the bottom, where you turn to go up Roaring Creek. My brother, he got about, I think maybe about 300, 400, 500 yards up Roaring Creek. And he couldn't go no further. The road was fucking gone. It was absolutely shredded. And I imagine that whole 3.5 miles, there's numerous bridges you have to cross. I wouldn't be surprised if all of them are gone. But thankfully, this is where community comes in, because this is something I want to talk about. As my brother was standing there trying to decide what to do, a couple of women rolled up on a 4-wheeler on the other side of the road. And he hollered at them, and they talked for a few minutes, and he said that, you know, he was looking for my mother and her husband, and thankfully they were like, yeah, we've seen them, they're fine, their house is fine. It's just we're going to be stuck here for a while, and it might be a good while before we have power, and it's definitely going to be a while before they have cell phone or internet. So I'm glad. I'm grateful she's safe, you know. And thankfully, her husband, they're pretty well stocked up on things, you know. They're pretty well stocked up on canned goods and things of that nature. But you know, there's a lot of people that live up that holler, and you know, I'm sure there's people that wasn't as well prepared. And I hope that they can find a way to get some of these goods that people are donating in up to them. The rest of my family is safe and well. My father, my great aunt, uh, on our side of the mountain, they're doing well. Nothing affected, no houses, no destruction. But sadly, my younger brother, his house was flooded up there in North Carolina. He did not find this out until Sunday morning. They had to evacuate Thursday morning, well before the shit really hit the fan. Because you see, the reason that all of this shit really happened is because Northeast Tennessee and Western North Carolina, I believe it was last Tuesday, Wednesday, probably Thursday as well, they were hit, certain areas were hit with 6 inches of fucking rain, you know, 6 inches of rain already. And this storm was not even related to Hurricane Helene. Not even related. Not the same system. And then Thursday, it comes up. Hurricane Helene. I had heard that there were some areas that got between 20 and 30 inches of rain. I mean, that's insane. On top of the 6 inches in certain places that got dumped on already, they didn't have a chance, you know. They didn't have a chance. But my brother, he sent me a video Sunday morning of him going into his house and looking at everything. There's probably about 2 inches of mud on the floor. The water had receded, of course, but you could see on the wall, it's probably 4 or 5 foot off the floor is how much water. When he opened the door, the storm door, to unlock his front door, there was a little rainbow trout about 3 inches long that was dead on his front, on the stoop there between the storm door and the front door. You know, my brother, he maintains he's got a sort of like dry, deadpan sense of humor. You know, he's a pretty funny guy. And in this 7-8 minute video, as he's walking around, just seeing a lot of the stuff that they work for just buried in mud and just catastrophe, just destruction. You know, he was even cracking off a joke or two, but you know, I could hear the hurt in his voice. And I can only think of maybe once or twice in my life when I've heard him sound like that. And, you know, it bothered me. But there is a silver lining to it, of course, though, which it's not really, but it could have been a lot worse. They're safe, him and his wife and daughter. Everything's good. They're staying at his mother-in-law's family's place. And they were actually selling their house. It was supposed to close today. It was supposed to be finalized. So they had moved out a lot of their furniture and a lot of their stuff before the storm hit because they were in the process of moving out. They were going to move back on the holler back home, close to my father. They were going to build them a place there. And now that plan, it's like, I don't know what's going to happen with that. But I'm thankful that they're safe. That's what's important. And they dodged a bullet as well to a degree. You know, a lot of their stuff was in storage. And that storage facility is on pretty high ground from what I understand. So you take what you can get. And he's in really good spirits. Me and him, we've talked a lot the last few days when he's been able to. He's went back to work and he's in really good spirits, you know. Really positive. You know, my younger brother, he's one of a kind. if he was doing this, making content or whatever, he'd probably have 10,000, 15,000 subscribers. He's really good at everything. He's one of those people that's good at things and they don't even have to try. I shouldn't say that, but because he works hard. But he was just always more talented. So I'm glad that that's good. But that's my story. My mother-in-law and her family, they're well, they're safe. I'm gonna see what the chat says. Let me get a drink of water. You guys like my clean shave? Chinlet, baby. Let's see. Let's see what we got. Doodle Squatch, it's good to see you. Yeah, I wanted to poke my head up. Yeah, upstate North South Carolina got hit pretty hard. What's up, Charlie Shoestring? It's good to see you, my man. Hope you're well. Is there anybody out there? Was crushed by a tree the night of the storm. Yes. I have not heard any numbers. And I mean, I've been inundated with information, so you'll have to forgive me. Because I seen one total for an area. I think it was a county, was that 85 were missing. I don't know. I mean, it's untelling. I think I'd seen somebody post it. I think you might be right, but I don't rule out weather manipulation. Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and claim that I've delved into the conspiracy of weather manipulation. I've heard of cloud seeding. I've heard of HARP. I'm not going to claim that I know anything about that. But knowing the true depravity of those who rule over us wouldn't surprise me. I'm not saying it's real or it's not, but I do know one thing: their depravity and their malice knows no bounds. Let's see. It's good to see you, cowboy. Yes, Charlie Shoestring. Yes. A gang of 8 illegals were arrested in Jonesboro, Tennessee for looting. Yes, I seen the picture. And they were, they didn't look Appalachian. Not in the least. In fact, my friend Southern Asshole on Twitter, he sent me the arrest records for Washington County, Tennessee. You can actually go through. Now, they were not updated and they did not include these 8 illegals. This was a couple of days before the flood, but I got to looking through those arrest records. They will claim, I don't know what the fuck is going on with Washington County Sheriff's Office. I seen a black Muslim. Looked like an Ethiopian, perhaps. Sudanese. Somalian. He had the beard. He was not Arabic. He was, African. Northeast African of some kind. He had an Islamic name. You know what they put? They put his ethnicity as white. I'm not kidding. I looked through this last night. They put his ethnicity as white. And I had seen some Mexicans that they had put that they were white. Now, you've got your African Americans. I did see that they put them as black or African. And I seen for the Mexicans that have been arrested for various offenses, I seen them put a few of those as Native Hawaiian, Samoan. I've never heard of a Polynesian with the last name Vasquez or Fernandez. So, you see it there. Do you think weather weapons are real possible? Hey, anything's possible, I suppose. Wouldn't surprise me. I've not looked into that enough to understand. Let's see. I see them spraying stuff. Yeah, chemtrails. Yeah, I've heard about that. Um, that's another thing I'm undecided on. Wouldn't doubt it, but I've not looked into it. Howdy, brother. Have you heard from your mom yet? No, I have not spoken to her, but she is. I have heard she's well. I appreciate that. Thank you. Is there anybody out there? Get her some Starlink. Yeah, that's might be on the docket here in the future. I'm hoping this weekend I'm going to try to go back up there. I need to. I mean, I feel guilty in a way because I'm not up there and I talk about this place. That bothers me. I'm not on the ground. You know, so I'm gonna go up there this weekend, see what's up. Maybe take a chainsaw and see if there's anything that could be removed. Trees, fallen trees, things like that. Um, any problems with looters up there? Probably not. No, no, not back home. Uh, Probably ain't gonna have to worry about that. There might be a meth head or two that might, steal a few things, but as far as any large scale looting, no, no. It's one of the blessings of not living in a diverse community. Now, in Asheville, I've heard reports that there's a lot of looting going on over there, but I discussed the political leanings of Asheville earlier, so you can pretty well expect that sort of thing. Um, hey, Latchkey Orphan, yeah, we're good, we're good. I appreciate it. We've had looting problems even here in Spartanburg. Apparently, a blue group of blacks assaulted a white butcher at Publix, which was the only store open. You see, this is why I talk about syndicates. This is why I talk about syndicates. In disasters like this, those 8 immigrants, those 8 Mexicans, whatever the fuck they are, they got arrested, which good on the sheriff for arresting them, but I don't think these people deserve shelter or food, really. They shouldn't even be in our country. Syndicates, man. Disasters like this, a lot of people ain't got cell phone service. They ain't got anything to call. Landlines are down, power's still out in quite a few areas. That is one good thing. I got to give credit to the electric cooperative back home. They have worked tirelessly, and they've gotten a lot of the power back in my community. Where my younger brother's staying, his wife's family, I should say, they've got power. My dad's got power. It's just the phone lines are down still. Um, oh yes, Doodle Squatch. I'm sorry to hear that though about that about what's going on in Spartanburg. You should be armed, and hopefully in your area the cops aren't such cocksuckers that there could be ramifications for you defending yourself. And if worse comes to worse, hey, it's like this old meme that I've seen before. It's like this old meme. It's of an old mountain man, and he's got a shovel and a rifle in his hand. Old black and white picture. And the meme said, as long as you got a shovel, ain't no need to call the cops. I'm joking. I don't condone violence, of course. Of course not. 8 billion for Israel and Ukraine, though. Thank goodness. Yes, we'll talk about that in a minute. Well, I appreciate that, Ulfric. I think I look like a baby face, but it's when I first did it. When I first did it, my wife was just like, "I can tell you feel fucked up without it," and I was like, "Yeah, I feel like a real juvenile." Indians. Oh, god damn. Yes. Thank you, Ulfric. This is another bone of contention. You've got these Indians price gouging gasoline in Augusta, Georgia, selling it for $10 a fucking gallon. And my friend on Twitter, I'll Take My Stand, was posting about this. And you know what? I think earlier today in one of my tweets that I'd posted, I talked a little shit about capitalism. I sincerely believe capitalism is one of the greatest threats to our people. I think it's greater than communism. I think communism's a paper tiger. And I'm not running cover for hell, maybe I'm just a racist communist. Who cares? You know, I don't care. I care about unions. I care about the working class. I don't like communism. I view communism and capitalism as two sides of the same coin. It leads to the same outcomes usually. Except capitalism seems to be a lot gayer, a lot more gay, a lot more faggotry, a lot more immigrants. You know, I had some people come in and they're like, oh, what's the alternative? Ooh, oh, this corporatism isn't free market capitalism. Listen, faggot, I'm not here to fucking debate economics, all right? I don't give a fuck about your terms. I just know that what we have here in America ain't fucking working. It ain't fucking working. And it's disgusting. Globo homo. You know, I see these fucking libertarian types go on about, oh, my free market. God damn, if I could find that, I want to fucking read that because it made my blood fucking boil. This fucking retard gets on my friend's thread and starts saying, oh, do you support communism? Do you support price rationing or price controls and rationing? And I'm just like, does this dumb fuck know how goddamn out of touch they fucking sound? You're supporting a free market for a bunch of fucking pajeets charging $10 goddamn a gallon in a disaster area. Now, given I don't know how bad it is in Augusta, but I mean, if it's bad in upstate South Carolina, I'd say they're having some flooding. I've not looked into it, but I don't fucking care. $10 a gallon in gas? You know what I mean, I've seen so many of these libertarian fucks talk about my free market. Oh, my free market. My free fucking market. Fuck you and fuck your free market. What about a free-for-all market? What do you think about that? What if somebody rolled up to these pajeets and, you know, they had ski masks and gas cans and, you know, a whole lot of lead. Free-for-all market. Anyways. Yeah, these free market faggots, you can't do nothing with them. Hey, what's going on, Dawning Armor? It's good to see you. What's up, Dietrich? How are you? Yeah, I think these Indians, they need to be brought in line. It's a damn shame that they've weaseled their way into the convenience store and gas station business. I mean, they're fucking everywhere. Let's see. Charlie Shoestring says the system around here is insane. Look up Danielle Owens, 32-year-old black man strangled a 16-year-old white girl and left her body in a field for 3 months. He got 4 years on top of a drug charge. I'll look that up. Would you say this is on par with Katrina? Quite possibly. Maybe not the widespread violence that took place down there because, you know, things got really hairy. I actually lived in Louisiana, just outside New Orleans for a year back in the late aughts, almost a year. And this would have been 4 or 5 years after Katrina. And you could still see the remains. I remember every morning driving to work, you go on across the Highway 11 bridge to the refinery I worked at. And you could look over maybe a mile or so in the distance, and you could see an abandoned Six Flags park that had been abandoned, you know, from August 2005 when Katrina hit. They never tried to rebuild, never done anything with it. 40 cents for a case of 24-ounce bottles. They've done a good job with restoring power here. That's good. He's a Nazbowl. Yes, yes, yes. I'm a Duganist. No, I'm joking. I don't think that's. I believe in what Tom Metzger preached. Tom Metzger and Louis Beam were my favorite figures from the old days, among a few others. Oh, so I think I'm caught up with the chat. What's up, Dissident Mind? Let me play some of these videos for you. I feel like I've been babbling a lot. I'm probably not going to go too long tonight. Let's see. This first video is from Cott County, Tennessee. That's where Newport is. I've only been through Newport a couple of times. Newport is a wild place. There's a lot of wild things that's went on up there in the past. A lot of hell raisers. I admire that, you know. But Newport was ravaged. This is, I believe, the French Broad River. So let me see if I can play it for you guys. This drone footage is from a guy named Ben Childers. I'll let it play. Yeah, that was Cott County there. Let's see. Got another video here for you. It is from the same guy, Ben Childers. He makes a lot of cool drone footage videos His channel's worth checking out. Let me play this. This one is of Hot Springs, North Carolina. I don't believe I've ever traveled to Hot Springs, to be honest. Let's see. Let me get it playing here for you guys. All right. That's the second video. Now, this last video, it's about, I believe, 9 minutes long. It's a sort of TVA hurricane update. I think it was just posted 2 days ago. So let me play it and then try to talk about maybe the only positive thing that might have come out of all of this. So let me get it started for you.
Sevierville, Pigeon Forge, and Gatlinburg, Tennessee. Though our water levels did get high during the storm, thankfully the damage was not as bad as it could have been, allowing places like Dollywood and downtown Gatlinburg to go back to normal fairly quickly. However, other areas of East Tennessee and North Carolina did not fare as well. The goal of this video is to give you a look at some of the major roads and areas that have seen much greater damage from this hurricane and highlight the efforts of first responders who are diligently working around the clock to save lives and property.
Oh, look at that. They rescued that little bud. Hell yeah. Black Lab. Saved him.
Before we get started, I wanted to read this from Ryan Hall, who says it's quite possible the worst of the damage has yet to be documented or reported in rural western North Carolina. Helene will be remembered as one of the most devastating storms of the modern era. Many places have been geographically altered, and the rebuilding process will take a lifetime. Again, we wanted to take a moment to thank all of the different agencies from all over the region who have been working together to save lives and property. The rains from Hurricane Helene were so great that it took out a section of Interstate 40 that runs between Tennessee and North Carolina. Here's a video shared by Bryn Sitton. The North Carolina Department of Transportation just recently posted asking people to only travel in or to Western North Carolina for emergencies at this time. It's going to take some time for this section of I-40 to be rebuilt, so just check your GPS for alternate routes. As far as North Carolina, Asheville was hit very hard with flooding. Check out this video from Callie on TikTok as she steps out her front door. Back over to Tennessee, Cocke County was hit hard with flooding, which is a neighboring county of Sevier County, which is where Gatlinburg, Pigeon Forge, and Sevierville are. You can see this propane tank floating away in the floodwaters. We just stopped in Newport, Tennessee on our way home from South Carolina recently, and I took this photo of their fire department, which has been very busy as their first responders have been evacuating their downtown area of Newport, Tennessee.
I just wanted to pause this for a second. Hey, what's up, Didymus? It's good to see you, man. Didymus says, I haven't even heard about this disaster yet. Water damage can linger for years. Rest in peace to the fallen. That's wow. I'm glad you said that, Didymus, because I've only heard a little bit on the news. I don't watch TV much, don't watch cable very often. I know yesterday I cut on, what was it? It was Fox News. I cut on Fox News while, I'm sitting here at the house with my kid. And they were talking about, Western North Carolina. Honestly, the internet's a much better place to get your news, of course. That should be well and obvious by now. But today, my wife's working. I'm off work for the next several days. I cut the TV on around lunchtime. I'm sitting there feeding my daughter, and all I see in the hour or so that I kept the TV on was imminent attack coming from Iran, targeting Israel. Intelligence says Israel is being targeted. Oh man. Oh, we've got to worry. This conservative news channel, multimedia conglomerate. We've got to worry about Israel, guys. That's the number one important fucking issue. In fact, it's so fucking important that they want to send 700 Tennessee National Guardsmen to Kuwait. They want to send them to Kuwait. They did this the day before, last Thursday. Last Thursday, they put out the order. I believe they were being sent somewhere in Texas. I can find it, but it's not important. I mean, it is important, but their final destination is Kuwait. And they're going to be in Kuwait for what the fuck's going on with Israel. I'll talk more about that in a minute. Let me finish this video for you guys.
Is an aerial video from the Tennessee State Trooper Highway Patrol. Here's a view from the ground in downtown Newport from H&H Vapors. As they zoom in across the street here, you can see the river is raging and these police cars in water. But here are some highlights that the Tennessee Wildlife Resource Agency shared of saving this dog. And they continue to assist in a number of different evacuation efforts. So kudos to the men and women of the TWRA for all the work they've been doing lately.
I wanted to just pause this for a second. I seen a comment by Dietrich. He said, "Didn't assume he did. I haven't seen any other WN streamers cover this either, just drama shit or Middle East shit." There have been two that I know of. Earlier this evening, Frank De Silva on his podcast, The Western Method, he did a good stream. It was earlier this evening. You can find him on Twitter. And I believe Nick over at NNR covered it maybe 2 or 3 days ago. So, yeah, there's been a couple of people that's talked about it, and I appreciate them for doing so for sure. All right, let's go back to it.
Another rescue effort I want to highlight is at the Unicoi Hospital in East Tennessee, which became quickly flooded, stranding over 50 hospital staff and patients. Thankfully, with all the assistance of the different agencies, everyone was able to be evacuated. Not far from the Unicoi Hospital, Daniel Schrader captured the Irwin Highway Bridge getting washed away from the floodwaters. Daniel also captured the Kenzer Bridge on Highway 107 in Greene County, Tennessee, yesterday afternoon. The bridges you just saw collapse were part of the Nolichucky River.
Oh, shit. Here's what the thumbnail of this stream. This is what I picked. This is the Nolichucky Dam. I hope they show another view of it because it's fucking wild.
River, and you can see how much water has been flowing through the Nolichucky Dam. I'm going to pass it over to the Tennessee Valley Authority as they just uploaded this short 1-minute video.
Fucking look at that shit. That's power. And that's nature's fury. I mean, that's a pretty big dam too. Pretty good sized dam. The Nolichucky River, that is what Nolichucky River, it flows through Irwin, Tennessee, That's where you seen them mention it a minute ago about the bridge. And that bridge that just collapsed in the river, that was the Nolichucky River. Nolichucky in Cherokee means dangerous waters. That's what the river is named after. My unincorporated community back home is in the county north and northeast of Unicoi County. That's the county that Irwin is in. I remember growing up, my father, he was big into fly fishing. He'd go fly fishing a lot on the Watauga River, the South Fork of the Holston River over in like Sullivan County. He'd also fish some in North Carolina, just across the state line. The Toe River, which the Toe River is actually what flows into the Nolichucky. It's the same, it's the headwaters, you could say. Once it flows through North Carolina, through Avery County, it flows into Mitchell County and Spruce Pine, North Carolina. There was a lot of flooding damage in Spruce Pine. And it flows through, I believe, Yancey County, North Carolina. It goes west, and then it comes into Tennessee, and it becomes the Nolichucky River. My father would hardly ever fish there because even when the water's normal, even when it is at its normal levels, it's a very dangerous river. There's a lot of undertow. And you can be just waiting. You know, my dad, he would have the waders on. He'd be out there casting, you know. You can be in an area that's just like up to your knee, just in 1 or 2 foot of water. And then you can take one step and you can be in a spot that's over your head. It's a really dangerous river. But anyways, this is wild here.
Video highlighting what they're doing to help control the water levels of the rivers right now.
Hello, I'm James Everett. I'm the General Manager for River Management at TVA. We're here in the River Forecast Center. We're actively managing a very large flood event. We've seen heavy rainfall over the last several days, some locations between 4 to upwards of 19 inches of rainfall over the last 2 to 3, 4 days. So that's a tremendous amount of rainfall, creating large flows moving through the system. We're seeing our tributary reservoirs rise. Places like Douglas and Watauga, in fact, have risen sharply. We're approaching some record levels on Watauga Reservoir, the highest level we've seen since 2013, and the pool of record there. We're also seeing very high levels at other tributaries. Douglas Dam near Sevierville, Tennessee, Norris Dam, South Holston, Fontana, the Hiwassee system. So our tributary system is doing what it's intended to do, which is store water, provide flood protection for areas downstream, and then we're also releasing large amounts of water. So at Douglas Dam, we're releasing water through the spillway gates to recover flood storage and help alleviate flood concerns throughout the entire Tennessee River Valley. We're also focused on operations to come. So this will be a long event for us as we release water from dams, bring levels back down in a very controlled manner, and monitoring it 24/7 around the clock from the River Forecast Center.
The Tennessee Emergency Management Agency just stated that officials, including Governor Bill Lee, recently finished an aerial survey of Upper East Tennessee. The storm has caused historic damage to bridges and roadways, with the brunt of the impact on Washington, Carter, Unicoi, Johnson, Greene, and Cott counties, with the Tennessee Department of Transportation crews spread around the region. Some are working on cleanup efforts, while others are still surveying the damage. This is unprecedented in terms of impact to structures. We expect this to cause significant travel issues as long-term closures will be in place across the region. Our hearts are with the families of those with missing loved ones, as well as those who have to rebuild their homes and businesses. Hopefully this video serves as a reminder of how powerful flood waters can be, and to always remember to turn around and don't drown. We ask that you continue to pray for the many families who have suffered great losses through the effects of this hurricane. And feel free to share your appreciation for the first responders in the comment section. We'll do our best to share any further updates in the pinned comment below.
All right, so there you have it. That's the videos I had for you. I think I picked out a decent little spread. Check out De Silva's stream. There, he had a very broad range of footage that he had curated and pulled off of the internet, various websites. Oh, let's see. I wonder how these dams messing up the hydrology. Yeah, that's. I'm sure there were quite a few studies done back in the back in the 30s, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s about the TVA and its effects upon the environment. Hell, Didymus, it's like every single TVA lake, there is a part of a small community under that lake. In Watauga Lake back home, they're at the county line between Johnson and Carter County, Tennessee. There's a long bridge. It's called the Butler Bridge. People jump off of it sometimes. It's probably about 70 foot above the water. I know my wild uncle. He used to jump off of it some just to get a rush. It's called the Butler Bridge, but there is back whenever this dam was built. I believe it was finished in 1942 or 43. I'd have to check the Watauga Dam, which forms the lake. But in the late 30s, first 1940 or so, they had to evacuate because the government bought the land of this community called Butler. So basically, Butler moved from from beside the river. It just moved, on up the hill, basically, a few hundred feet. Watauga Lake is one of the deepest, coldest lakes. I believe it's 400 foot deep in some places. It's a really cold lake compared to a lot of the other lakes that are further south in the TVA system. I want to take a minute and I want to talk about this Israeli bullshit. One of the things that I don't understand and that I've never understood. All my life I've heard some older people say, that we should support Israel, that they're God's chosen people, that we need to look out for them. This comes from people in my community. And I've witnessed this across the South in my travels as well, in my interactions with people. I don't understand that. I suppose we could blame a lot of this stuff on John Darby and Schofield. I forget Schofield's first name. He's the one that had written the Schofield Bible. One of maybe two positives out of this is that I hope it radicalizes as many heritage Appalachians as fucking possible. I run a Telegram channel, one of my Telegram channels. It's called Heritage Appalachia. Let me read you a post real quick. I wrote this the other night. Give me just a moment here. Heritage. Here we go. Let me scroll back a few days. I wrote this the other night. If you could only make the hillbilly anti-Semitic and make his community leaders and shepherds care more for their own backyards than some shit-fuck patch of squalid desert in the Middle East, the entire world would tremble. I hope this radicalizes people. Honestly, it's amazing to me that there aren't way many more people radicalized in Appalachia just because of the opiate epidemic and the Sackler family. That was what really turned. That's what really flipped my switch 5, 6 years ago, was learning about the Sackler family. That was the death knell, you know. With these National Guardsmen being sent to Kuwait, you know, it would be fucking nice. And, you know, there's people that I care for that still labor under this delusion that we should be Zionists and support Israel. People that I'd say I love, you know. Not necessarily anyone in my immediate family or extended family, but neighbors and good people back home. I want this to radicalize them. We don't need no fucking wars in the Mideast. Those 700 men could have been here doing something useful, pretty well out of danger, you know. It's not safe to go, you know, out of the country. Going to Kuwait, probably going to war. I hope this radicalizes people. I seen Cowboy had mentioned something about that earlier in the chat. You know, I still don't understand it, man. It's like, you know, I'm not going to shit on Christians or anything because, you know, I'm like beyond that. Even though I have, you know, more of a kind of, you could say, pagan view. But sometimes I see these people and I just want to calmly explain to them, you know, that these are not God's chosen people. And that if your own blood from Northern and Northwestern Europe, if you don't think God has chosen that, and he chooses these weak, deceptive parasites as his chosen people, well, what does that say about your God? You need to get your priorities straight, and you need to understand. You need to lift these Zionist rose-colored glasses off your eyes. It makes my blood boil whenever they think that churches, local community churches, think, you know, we have to send money to Israel. Fuck that. Probably the most well-funded nation in the world. You know, that's one of the positives that I hope becomes fulfilled. And I really do think that we are making headway. We're making headway. It's all about, like Didymus Sumidid has said before, it's about eroding the legitimacy of the system. That's what it's about. All right. Let's see. I've got a couple of positive stories to tell you. I seen that is absolutely right. I'm going to post that. I'm going to post yours, Finn Wraith. Americans or Europeans don't need to fight anyone else's wars. I'll post yours, Doodle Squatch. And then I will post yours. Hey, how you doing? How you doing? Why are you gay? I appreciate you stopping by as always. I always get a kick about saying your name. Why are you gay? I've known you a long time on here. Why are you gay? You've been around from the very early days. Didymus has too. I'm going to post Didymus's here too. It's a tragedy when you think the lives of a different people is worth more than your own kids and family. I couldn't have put it any better myself. That's it. My neighbor is an older boomer lady, was making anti-Israel comments the day after. Hey, that's what we like there. Is there anybody out there? That's what we like. This needs to be screamed from every rooftop. Screamed in every holler in Appalachia. Let's see. Hey, what's up, George? How you doing, George Orwell? Yes, that is true. That is true. Parasites. Anyways, positive time now. A little more positivity. We were talking about that the first responders there rescuing that awesome black lab. It's always good to see a little bud rescued. Back home, I was talking to my mother-in-law as I was working Friday morning. We were just texting back and forth, and she was sending me pictures of the river in front of her house. Thankfully, their house is up on a hill. Never approached it, but I mean the little 2-lane highway at the bottom of her driveway was, it was underwater. I've made videos next to the river in front of their house a few times. We lost contact probably around lunchtime. And it happened that I think it was Saturday, the water had receded enough and they were able to get out and to go to town, to the unincorporated community, and they could also make it all the way down to Johnson City, Tennessee, Elizabethton. But I think on the second time they had went out to check on things, my mother-in-law and her husband, they found this little dog. It looks like my little dog Loki. Similar. He's I'm not sure. Looked like he might have been a Corgi or Corgi Chihuahua mix. They found him on the side of the road, and he was soaking wet and weak. They found him, they picked him up, and they brought him home. Cleaned him up, gave him a bath. He's an older dog. He was an older dog, and, they took care of him. And Sunday, whenever they started to get, I think the power got restored to their house actually Sunday. It's remarkable what the electric cooperative did back home. And she was able to get out, and she called my wife and said, we've got this dog. She sent the pictures. She posted it on Facebook. And, she didn't have cell phone service, so she had to go back home. Well, it took a couple of days, but they got in touch with her, the dog's owners. They weren't from our little community. They had been camping up in the state park at the foot of the mountain my town is named after. And it was an older man and his wife. He was an elderly man. He was a retired preacher. And he had managed to see, they were camping in a camper, and they had to be evacuated quickly because the water rose so quick. And he lost his dog. He seen it fall and it slip into the river, and he tried to go after it, and his wife wouldn't let him. It broke this man's heart to see his little bud go. They had rescued this dog, and they'd had it for many years. They'd got it from a shelter, and his wife, the preacher's wife, told my mother-in-law that, he had been crying his eyes out. Their kids are grown, moved off, it's just him and his wife and their little bud. And he was absolutely tickled to death when that little bud came running to him, my mother-in-law said. So, that's a heartwarming story. That man was tickled to death that he got reunited with his dog. It's a miracle. His dog, which had probably floated, might have been, carried maybe, I don't know, maybe a mile and a half down the river. I don't know if he got carried that far, but it's a wonder he didn't get killed. So that's a little positive for you. And the other positive thing that I'm going to leave you with, because I'm going to shut this down shortly. I'm sleepy, and I'm wanting to finish season 1 of True Detective. And that show has really put the hook in me. If you've ever seen True Detective season 1, I think I've only got 1 episode left, but it deals with a lot of things that we've talked about on this channel. And it also shows the depravity. If you've never seen that series, I would actually highly recommend it. at least season 1. And I want to finish that, so I'm going to close it down. But the last thing I have for you, me and my brother, younger brother, we were talking earlier this evening around supper time, around dinner. And, me and him were talking about the state of things. And he said, if there's one good thing that's came out of all of this, it's just seeing the positive. It's seeing people help each other, and it's seeing people care. It's seeing people rescuing people. It's seeing people send things into charities that are being distributed in our time of need. He said, and me and him, we talked about that for a few minutes. And he said, this disaster, at least in this community here, has made people come together and actually get out and speak to each other, especially not having any cell phone or power up there. That's the one thing that's positive. It's made people come together, and it's made people want to see well for their kin. And it's made people want to take care of each other. It ain't just, the normal everyday hustle, bustle, capitalistic nightmare, of modern day America. Work, hustle, hustle, hustle. If you're lucky, you might be able to see your wife and your kids for fucking 2-3 hours every evening. If that, you work your ass off for 40 or 50 fucking years. And then if you're lucky, you may live long enough to retire and maybe get a few years of not having to slave your life away. But your kids are already grown then. If you're lucky, hopefully you get to see your grandkids. And this hustle and bustle produces a sort of indifference in people, even in sort of close-knit communities. It does. It does, to a degree. Not as bad back home. Not as bad as any large city, of course. But it does produce a sort of indifference. And, people, they get focused on what you could call first world problems. Well, those first world problems, when you have something like this, it makes you value things. It makes you appreciate things. And this catastrophe, it has been god-awful, and there's been such a loss of life, and there's going to be a lot of things that come out over the next few days that are going to be pretty heartbreaking. But there's also some, it's like the old saying goes, it's always darkest before the dawn. And keep that in mind, Sometimes we're dealt these things to have a good story to tell our kids or our grandkids. We'll make it, We'll make it. But anyways, lastly, as far as charities go, I was sent this charity that you guys can look into if you wanted to send anything. I've wanted to start a charity of some sort myself, but I don't even know where to start. I don't even know where to begin, And I'm not wealthy by any means. I'm not doing too bad, and I've been a lot more poor in the past. I've been pretty down before, but I just don't know where to start. But I was sent this by my friend Appalachian Chestnut on Twitter. Let me see if I can find a link to it, to where you could donate. I trust her word on this too. She mentioned a charity to me that was doing great work. Great work. Okay. This charity is called the Y'all Squad. And I'm going to post a link to it in the chat. And I looked at their Twitter and stuff, and they're sending a lot of things to Western North Carolina. in East Tennessee. And that is who she recommended to me. So I'm going to post it in the chat. If you have any extra money, and I know it's fucking hard these days. You know, it ain't fucking good. But if you got anything little extra, I'm sure this charity would absolutely appreciate it. I just wanted to put that out there to anybody that was thinking about it, that wanted to help out, because it'd be truly appreciated, you know. So it's called the Y'all Squad. You know, if it was my way of saying it, I'd say it was the Yuns Squad. You know, that's how we say y'all in my part of Appalachia. I know me and Didymus was talking about that a little while back. But anyways, guys, I want to thank everybody that stopped in. And keep us in your thoughts and prayers if you would. We'd appreciate it, but also keep yourselves in your thoughts and prayers as well. It's an election year after all, and things could get I don't know, could get hairy. You never know. The great Yuns y'all divide in anti-Yankee culture. Yes. You know, that's actually more of a northern thing, is the Yuns thing. That's I think people up in Pennsylvania, up in what I would consider, you know, northern Appalachia, they say it like that. But yes. Anyways, guys, thank y'all for stopping by. Appreciate it as always. I've got an episode of the Sono Show coming out. Well, it'll be live this upcoming Tuesday. Yeah, I've got a guy coming on I've really wanted to talk to for a long time now, but I'm not going to tell you guys who it is just yet. But I think you guys will really appreciate it. You'll find out. Maybe you might find out this weekend. You know, I'll set up the stream a little early. I may have another guest, maybe tomorrow, maybe Friday, maybe Thursday. Might have another guest come on. I'm trying to get thank God I ain't got to go to work till like the middle of next week. So I've had some time off and haven't been able to stream much this year with guests. So I'm trying to make up for that a little bit. But I'll be back, and thank you guys for stopping by. Y'all have a great evening. Bye-bye.